All right, guys, we alive, baby. We're live.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, so welcome to another episode of the Kava Club Podcast, episode 22. My name is Bill Nakuzi. I'm excited. I have my first couple interview, so I'm excited today, all the way from Washington. But I'll go ahead and let you guys introduce yourself real quick. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Nane Tamoepeau. I am 26 years old and currently reside in Bellevue, Washington. And I'm Tongan and Filipino.
Yay!
And I'm Pasi and Nane Tamoepeau. I'm 27 years old. We're out here in Bellevue, Washington, and I'm 27 years old. And I'm Tongan.
We're Tongan. We got Tongan and Tahin, the Tokos and Tahinas in here. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so first and foremost, to say thank you guys for taking the time. Grateful for you guys to have this opportunity to do this podcast with me. So I started off real quick. So how did you guys grow up? How did you guys grow up as a child?
I think for me personally, like I was telling Will earlier, I was born in Tonga and I moved over to Sacramento, California. That's where I'm from. I was raised in Sacramento. I'm the oldest of 5. I had both my parents growing up, so it was just a normal suburban middle class life. Always involved in school. So my upbringing was pretty much okay until junior year, and then my parents split, and then life became to form itself, if you will.
Life hit hard. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah. So for me, I was born in Tonga. Right, her and I was born in the same hospital.
Only hospital.
The only hospital. So I grew up over there until I was 10 years old, about 10 years old, and then I was raised, pretty much raised over there. Went to school there, and came to the United States. Got here when I was 11.
Mm-hmm.
We actually moved to Sacramento, California. My mom's family's from there. We were there for about a year, 2 years, and then from there we moved to Washington because my dad's family was out here. But it was the culture shock was way different.
How was it? Yeah.
Just I feel like going to school and everything you did wrong, or you always get hit for something, doing something. From like going to school in America and you see kids cussing out, teachers and stuff like that. So that was the culture shock for me. And then just seeing how big the roads were and how far you can travel, that was crazy for me.
Yeah.
Because like seeing America in movies was like, it's like not to over exaggerate, but it's like, man, going out of space.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I can relate. Yeah.
I thought the roads were paved with gold and high-rise buildings and
everybody's rich.
Right, everybody's rich. You came here, you're like, oh man, it's a different type of struggle. You got to work and earn, right?
Yeah.
Here, so
exactly.
For sure. What was out of all the culture shocks that you saw? Like, what was the biggest one? The biggest culture shock for you, and then the hardest one to kind of like learn to adjust to.
Maybe I think that, honestly, it's probably the difference in like other cultures as well. Like it's so diverse here, right?
Okay.
In the States versus in Tonga, like we have one tradition that everyone follows that, right? In the States, man, you have different ethnicity and everyone has their own traditions. So you kind of have to adjust with an open mind to how everyone is in the States. So I was a kid, so I think I just went with the flow.
It's all good. I want to ask you guys, so what do you guys think in your experience growing up? What was the hardest thing about growing up as a Tongan in a culture?
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you guys think in your own life?
I think for me personally, my parents, when they split, it was a very hard split, and I'm the oldest of 5.
Okay.
And, speaking up in a Polynesian household, you know, even when it's right or wrong from your parents, you don't
Yeah.
you don't talk back. You
Yeah.
don't you don't open up your mouth. The kids stay within the kids and the parents do the parent stuff. Grown up stuff is grown up stuff. And if you did say something, then
It's
you
seen
know
as disrespect.
very
Yeah.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
Or they will say something like, you know, your kids are gonna know how you feel when they grow up when you have children one day. Like you don't do that.
Yeah.
So it was very hard, I think, in that aspect, you know, growing up because there was a lot of hurt in my household at one point. And
Yeah.
being oldest, you know, you kind of you want to be able to protect, but then at the same time you don't want to disrespect. So it was very hard to kind of go around that and make sure that you're not stepping on any toes. And then just to make sure that you're setting a good example. You know,
Right.
you're always taught
Yeah.
to set an example for your siblings, but then
Dep-
at the same time, it's like you're stuck in this bubble
Yeah.
with respect and the
Right.
tradition against grown-ups and staying in your place.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel that too because like growing up, man, whatever my dad said, it was like that was it.
Yeah.
All right, that was the
Yeah.
final
Yeah.
decision.
Yeah.
Like
No discussion.
right.
Yeah.
There's no discussion. You know
Yep.
you can't have an opinion. Your opinion doesn't matter,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
What they say is even if they're wrong, like I said, right or wrong,
Yeah. Right. Right or wrong.
that's wrong. That's the final
You don't
decision.
say anything.
And that's something that I struggle with my whole life, right? Even growing up, like you know that. Like I mean, when you're a kid, you respected it, everything because you know you're just a kid. But like as you grow up, it kind of like well, you know, you kind of want to bounce ideas or opinion, but still you still have that mindset like man, I don't want to disrespect anyone, especially my parents. But then again, it comes to a point like hey, like I think some things that I think is right? Like kind of trying to
Yeah.
discuss that.
I
It's
think
always hard.
I think it's also hard though too because like you know our parents they grew up in Tonga and they have these ideologies that they've always grown to be accustomed to. Like in Tonga, this is how things you know were done. When you move to America and the United States, I now understand that they understand that when we grow up here, there's different customs that now we've learned. So it's kind of hard to be like, well, we're Tongan, but you moved us here to the United States, so it's kind of hard to adapt to two different cultures,
Mhm.
you know. So yeah, that was
Yeah. That's absolutely true because I've gone through that my whole life as well.
yeah,
And I think what I think is, you know, they're trying to teach us the way they were taught, how they were raised in Tonga, right? And then for me, there's nothing wrong with it, but I think that kind of mentality and that they have and the way they do things that works good for Tonga,
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
right? But in America, in the land of opportunity, and if you want to excel and get ahead in America, you have to be able to express your ideas and discuss certain things, right?
Yeah.
In Tonga, there may not be as much as limited. I mean, there might not be as much opportunities over there.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm just saying is I feel like in our culture here in America, you know, in order for us to grow to like our potential, with
Yeah.
every opportunity here,
yeah,
we have to be able to be ourselves and go outside our comfort zone,
Exactly.
right? And I think that's hard for them to understand that, but I think for me, it's just the reason why I was able to speak up is when I realized like, okay, their way of thinking is not working.
no,
You know,
Right.
especially if I'm coming to America to make something happen for myself.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to like stay in the struggle. And then I realized like, okay, my parents' way of thinking is not getting us out this financial situation. Like
Yeah.
I need to change myself and then finally have the courage. Like, okay, Dad, I gotta, say no. I feel like this is not the right path for us as a family.
Yeah.
exactly,
So I know that's always hard.
yeah,
You know, with like I was always sharing with my wife, like, man, when I was going through school out here, like, man, you know, like even in class, like anybody know the answer? I never raised my hand. Raise your hand if you know.
Yeah, that was the same. That was the
You
same.
know, like I don't say much just because I'm always
so used to,
like never speaking up. You know what I mean? Always keep your opinion to yourself, right? It's only the adults that speaks. So that stuck with me, even going to college, right? I was like, when used to stand in line to ask our teacher questions. If someone's behind me, oh, I'll go behind them because I don't want to hear anyone, hear our conversation.
yeah,
So that really like kind of messed me up.
Yeah.
Right, afraid to ask questions and have people hear your opinion.
Yeah.
Because of the way I grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, and I feel like just to piggyback of what you said, I feel like that part of our culture of not speaking up, I think that hinders us for growth, right? Like you said, like you just said, right? It makes us afraid to speak up and to learn and to ask questions, because that's the only way we can learn. We have to be willing to ask questions.
Yep.
And also have confidence in our own ideas, because I feel like polys we have as much potential as anybody else.
Anybody
Right.
else?
Like we can start businesses, we can be entrepreneurs, we can do anything in our life, and we have to have confidence in our own ideas. But because we've been conditioned that that speaking up is considered wrong, and that kind of makes us unconfident in what we do.
Yeah.
So when we try new things, we're like, I don't want to try new things because I didn't. My mom said it sucks. I'm super. It's not a good thing to do. So I feel like for myself, just like it kind of hinders us, and that's something that we need to break.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that goes as well as far as like talking about like traditions. Like our parents grew up, and then like knowing. I mean, it happens in the States too. Education, traditional education.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's the only way out. All right.
Oh yeah.
Which is my opinion. It's not just because.
Yeah, it's not true.
Right. You don't have one, but like for our parents, like if you want to try something different rather than going to college, it's kind of like, well,
it's almost taboo.
Right. Like, what are you doing? Like, I brought you guys over here for a better life. This is what you got to do. Go to school, get a job. Yeah. But what about if I want to try something that you guys don't agree with?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So stepping out of that comfort zone is always scary, just because like you learned that your whole life not to. Yeah. Right. Always follow what your parents tell you.
Yeah. You've been taught your whole life to be comfortable, to stay within your lane, stay in your lane. Right.
That's so true.
And, so I want to ask you guys, since we're in that topic, we're talking about certain things. Do you have any examples of times that you disagreed with something and you finally had the courage to speak up, and something that you feel like that you want to share? If you don't want to share, it's fine, but just skip somebody.
Like the Tongan community, or just
no, would you own life, something that was a pivotal moment in your life that you feel like, okay, this is something that makes me happy, I want to do, but it was something that was against what your family thought, and that was your chance of speaking up. And if you want to share that moment with the people, so people can kind of like get some context on that.
So going to school, I mean, everyone knows like, okay, it takes 4 years, 5 years to graduate, right?
Yeah.
So going to college for me, I was the first generation, right? And my family to go to college, pretty much went in there blindfolded. And, I went into school to be in aviation, and, I didn't like that. And it's more of a hobby than a career. I went to try all other fields. It took me 3 years to finally come up with my major. Right? Yeah. I was always afraid to tell my dad, like, hey, I'm not going to graduate in 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I think it was the spring that I sat down with my counselor, and he told me like, hey, it's going to take you another 2 years, right, to graduate. And man, for me, I was like shocked, because I was like, man, I don't know how I'm going to tell my dad. I thought my mom was always easy for us to talk to, but my dad's like that dude. It's like, man, I finally built up the courage, man. Like, sat down with my dad and told him, and he's like, why? Like, just you need to graduate in 4 years. And I think it's the norm, right? You got to graduate.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more like, man, I want to find a major that I like, right? And pursue that rather than just graduating with any major just to graduate.
Yeah.
Right. Because I've seen a lot of examples of that. People went to college and graduated.
Yeah.
They don't even use that major just because they want to graduate in 4 years. That, as well as after I graduated, I started working, in my field, and I was like, man, this is not for me, But like, I had to talk to my parents, like, what are you doing? You're married now, like, how you gonna raise a family without, working the job? But for me, I wanted to go the entrepreneur route.
Yeah.
I wanted to get into business, start my business and stuff like that. So that's another conversation that I have to overcome. It's just like, hey, like this is what makes me happy, right?
Yeah.
And then like opening up with them, I kind of counsel my younger siblings and my younger cousins because like they start going to school, and if you're not going to the medical school or being an engineer, then failure. But why can't we put the same pedestal or like standard if you want to be an artist, right?
Yeah. Anything you want to be that makes you happy.
Anything you want to be, right? But so I kind of had to break that, and I helped my family break that
mold,
that barrier, right?
Yeah.
So that's something I feel like I helped with, and it was always a struggle. Just because it's like for them, it's like, okay, let's see if it works. But if you fail, I told you so.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So saying no to your parents, pretty much, and
pretty
their
much.
traditions.
We're deciding to go your own career path. That was the biggest thing for you. How about you?
I think for me, I think I had to say like really no to my conscience, because like I feel like I was always going back and forth with starting YouTube because I was so afraid of like I guess the response, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But Pasi and I were pretty vocal, or at least I know I'm very vocal about certain things that we're afraid to talk about, as well as you. And so I always went back and forth. His sister always said, come on, why don't you start it? And I was like, I don't want nobody in my business, And then I finally had to like really said no to my, I guess the little devil sitting on my shoulder talking about you're going to be judged and blah, blah, blah. And so I think that's a lot of us Polynesians, we're always so scared of the judgment as well, because we're so knit in our community that a lot of us know each other, so and so. So it was very easy that I always would talk myself into like, man, if I talk about something, maybe somebody may know my mom and call them and talk about, oh, you see Nane talking about whatever. So I had to say no to my conscience, just being able to get out there and talk about things that, like you said earlier, maybe find comfort for other people. And so, it's just getting out of my bubble, my shell, and doing something I'm not normal. I'm not used to.
Yeah. Just like I think we, what Pasi said, to our Tongan parents, like the only route of success they know is education.
Yeah.
Because I feel like now, for me, I was trying to figure out how come they have that. And when you realize that at the end of the day, it's just a limited way of thinking.
Yeah.
That in Tonga, I think in Tonga, education is the only route, because there's not a lot of opportunities in Tonga besides agriculture and maybe some local businesses. But as far as just education is the only way to get out of the island.
Yeah.
But in American culture, you can do anything, like degree with a degree or not, even without a degree. We see it all the time. Entrepreneurs start that drop out of college, and people like Bill Gates and people that we see all the time, and still make it happen. So I feel like that's something that we kind of need to break within our culture, is to understand. It's letting kids know that instead of pushing for like a specific path, like pushing for happiness, do something you're passionate about. Because one thing I see with because I have a lot of friends, a lot of family, and I know they're in careers that they don't like. Right. Yeah. And you guys know this, when you do something you don't like, you're not going to put your best effort into it.
Right.
No.
Right. You're not going to
pays you a lot of money too, right?
Yeah. So if you're not going to put in if you don't put in the work, you're not going to be good at it. If you're not going to be good at your job, you're not going to go far.
Right.
Yeah.
They go far. So I think that's something I see a lot, is this we have to break that mold within our parents, let them know, hey, like it's America, like we can do anything. But I think the hardest thing, because I think our parents is, how parents are, they don't believe it until they see it.
Right.
They won't believe in your success. They won't agree with you unless you make it.
Right. Right.
They don't care about the process. Like they want results now. That's the hardest thing.
Right.
We as in our generation, we have to go to the grind and the judgment and the criticism and all the shit, all the backstab, and all the shit they talk behind your back.
Right.
And then when you finally make it, and then they'll be like, hey, I always knew you made it.
Right. Then it's definitely that is so true. Because like when I started business, I'm constantly asking like, when are you gonna make a lot of money? When are you gonna make this?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, dude, it's a process,
It's a
right?
process, yeah.
Even people who are entrepreneurs who I follow, right? What they talk about, like, man, it took them 10, 15 years to build their business,
A
right?
business, yeah.
Right. And then finally they come to public and they got the luxury stuff, right, to show for it. But
Hmm.
man, they were struggling the past 10 years, 15 years.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like you got to understand that. And then you just have to understand how your parents work and try to work something out.
But I think that's normal though, because a lot of people show what you want them to see.
Right.
You want
Yeah,
a positive side of things. You want to see the money come in, but all the sleepless nights and
yeah.
See,
maybe all the failures along the way
Yep,
kind of
yep.
hard to kind of process with our Polynesian
yeah.
parents.
And I think when you're struggling too, like you don't want to show that, right?
Yeah.
When you're struggling, like you don't want to show anything like that you're going through. But what I've learned from a lot of entrepreneurs is like they regret not documenting their journey,
Hmm.
right? Like because when they look back, they can barely find pictures when they're struggling, so they can show the world, hey, this is what I went through before I got here,
Yeah.
right? Because like and then talking about social media, that influences a lot of people in the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah.
All they see is the success. Like, man, what's the fastest way that I get there? But the journey, man, that's like talking about process. You gotta enjoy the process just as much as you enjoy the price,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Those struggles will build the character to be able to obtain those things.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we just short thing. I mean, social media. There's a good thing. There's a good thing about social media,
Yeah.
but there's also a bad thing about social media.
Blessing and a curse.
All
Yeah.
right.
Social media, we're able to connect with more people. That's the blessing of social media.
Mhm.
But I think with social media, people only show you what they want you to see. We
Exactly.
don't. We only see the highlights of people's lives, but we don't see the downs and the tough times. And sometimes we have this perception that everything's supposed to be good and perfect.
Right. Yeah.
All
I think that's what's great about what you're doing and we try to do, right, was cover those things and talk about it and just being real about it.
Yeah.
Be real about your struggle because like you said, there's people out there within the Polynesian community, even if they're not, if they just see that's how things are, right, then that kind of eases their mind,
Mhm.
right? Because I feel like a lot of people sell the dream, but they don't tell you the real about the struggles.
Yeah.
that they
They,
go
they
through.
sell you like the good side of it, but they don't give you the other side of it. There is a dark side of everything, I think,
Yeah.
even in entrepreneurship. So since we're talking about struggle, and I think that's something that's a good topic we talk about because I feel like that's one of the things that hurts us is this. A lot of us hide our struggles.
Yeah.
Because I think I was just going off what Nane said, like they expect you to be perfect, like this is perfect daughter, right? We don't want us to speak out of line because our parents want us to be the perfect person that they want us to be.
Yeah.
Right. But that's the tragic of that is in life there is no perfectionism in life.
It's not all the sunshine.
Yeah, right. We need that rainbow. Right? All right. But yeah, so I want to talk about that. So like growing up, how did you deal with struggles? How was your relationship with your parents expressing those struggles? If there was a relationship, even if there was an open line of communication, because I do feel like a lot of people, our people, especially our generation, we go through some struggle, and I think that's why mental health is prevalent in our community because we don't have we feel like there's no place for us to express, especially when we're vulnerable. We just want to, and if everybody's listening right now, I want to make sure to let them know like struggle is it really took me a long time to realize that struggle is a normal part of life.
Yeah.
Right.
Because when I used to feel like when I was struggling or like I used to fail, I used to feel like a disappointment to my parents. I was like, oh man, because I went to college. I earned a football scholarship, go play football. But at the end, I kind of when my whole dream was like every Polynesian guy's dream to like make it to NFL. That was my dream. Right, and that was I had a really narrow mindset. That was like my only. If I didn't make it, my life was over.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely agree.
So when I got to the end in my senior year, and I realized that, oh shit, I'm probably not gonna make
Yeah.
make it. Man, my life, my life, like, that shattered everything about me, my identity, my confidence. I was like, wow, like, what else am I gonna do? And
Yeah.
of course, I had to support my family. Everybody telling me, "Hey, you're gonna make it, you're gonna make it, make it." But then I realized, oh shoot, I'm probably gonna disappoint everybody.
Yeah.
And I struggled with that, and and then I ended up dropping out of college because I just couldn't deal with the depression I was going through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel like, but then I realized, like, but then, when you start reading books, when you start listening to podcasts and content from successful people, they always talk about that, like Pasi said, the process.
Yeah.
A lot of them did things, and then something happened to them, and they did a 360 of their life and changed paths, changed careers, and that was like their biggest blessing.
Right.
And for me, I don't have any regrets now looking back, because if that didn't happen, it would have led me to what I'm doing today.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of people need to hear that. So I do want to talk to you guys about that. Just growing up, the struggles you went through, how you did deal with it, how did you hide it,
Yeah.
and then and then what finally happened for you in your life, for you finally to open up. You know what?
Yeah.
It's okay for me to express my struggles and talk about it and to deal with it.
Yeah.
And still that way you can grow from there and be a better version of yourself. So I want to ask you guys that question.
Yeah. I think, I keep referring back to my parents when they split, just because that really was, I think, the pivot moment of my life that really kind of molded who I am today.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, I am the oldest of five. So, between my parents, it was very hard because it wasn't the easiest break. There was infidelity and all of that had, chimed in. And so it was a lot of, being the oldest and being very, because I was vocal, I mentioned earlier that it was hard to not be, but I chose the route that was not the traditional route. I was very vocal in that situation, and it really caused a lot of tension. So trying to remember that I still have four younger siblings that still look up to me, during those hard times. And I remember going to school and just being very absent-minded. I would always ditch class. There was no meeting in school anymore because home wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
And so at one point, I just realized, like, if I'm going to keep going down this route in South Sacramento, it's not the best place to.
South Sac. Oh,
I already had to say
rough.
it.
That's rough, boy.
Yeah. In South Sac, didn't want to fall into the South Sacramento stereotype.
Yeah.
I hate to state that's home, but I just didn't want that to be who I was. And so I think I just had a moment where I went to church with my cousin Ite. And there was a moment where everyone was standing in a circle and, everyone's praying on each other. And then the pastor had said, like, the very last question was like, if there's anyone that needs to be prayed for, step forward. And, you're looking around and you only going to step forward. At that moment, I was like, this is me, you just step forward when everyone else is going to step forward. And I don't know, for some reason, I tell Pasi this all the time. I feel like someone or something pushed me forward, and I stepped forward, and like I just felt everyone's hands on me. And I think that at that moment I realized I can't let this be my story. I have to do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
So a few months later, I joined the U.S. Army, and it was very hard to leave my siblings, but I knew it was going to be a good reason. I wasn't them to just go and do something stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, at that moment, it's now taught me to be independent, and now my siblings are all doing their thing, and I'm not saying that I'm the reason, but I felt like that decision kind of helped that situation in my life. So,
Did your parents agree with you when you wanted to go to the Army?
No. I think my mom was just very afraid that, I think a lot of the polys that she knew always came back because they got hurt or they couldn't do it, the mental behind it. Mm-hmm. So my mom, seeing me as a female, was like, oh, I don't know if you're going to be able to do that. We'll see in a few weeks. But when I was able to do it and actually graduate and, actually be enlisted, I think that really made a statement like, okay, she's really true about her word. So.
Okay.
You
All
My
right.
dad on the other end, not so much.
Okay. What are you,
Yeah.
Bossy?
Something I've always struggled with. I think for me was expressing my feelings to to my parents. It was always like taboo,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Now, I can never sit down with them and do that. But I've always had my sister, which I was very close to growing up, and still is now. But that was the person that I always talked to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I always when I talk to her, I have any issues. Just expressing that with her was kind of was my safe place. You know,
Mhm.
to get away with the struggles. I think just speaking about your problems. But then as I grew up, um, now I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm still struggling with that. Like
Yeah.
honesty. You know, it's still I can never just
Approach your parents.
yeah approach my dad. Like it's still like that. Just because he comes off as a like I love my dad and I love everything he does, but it just everything I talk to him about. You got to have a point, right? Why are you talking to me about it, right? Why are you
Yeah.
struggling?
Why are you
Yeah.
so
You know
emotional?
why you so emotional? Because
Yeah.
he's a straight up guy about just
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah deal with it, be a man,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But that kind of counters the lessons they given me as far as as work ethic and
Yeah.
dealing with things, right? Like they expected me to deal with it, but they never put me to through a situation that I can learn how to do that on my own. If you get what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. They want you to deal with it, but they don't give any assistance or guidance or like some solutions, right?
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. So just say this is the way.
Yeah.
This is the only
Figure it
way.
out.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and it's still like that. But I've grown to custom to that to reason with my dad on everything now.
Yeah.
But yeah, growing up, man, it was always hard to talk to my parents about anything that I struggle with. I've always just shared with my sisters,
Yeah.
right? And that's something that I do now. That when I sit down with my friends, the people I call my brothers, I tend to be the guy that brings up that conversation. Hey, are you okay?
The hard
Like, oh yeah, I'm good.
conversations. Yeah.
Like, no, for real. Are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
because as men, like you don't want to, like you want to be the cool guy, the tough guy, that really don't have any issues in their life. And I used to be like that. But
Yeah.
now, and when I sit down with people, like it's always good to have those conversations, just because you don't know what they got bottling up in themselves, because that's gonna come out one way or the other,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. I feel like that's true because like being a Tongan man, like sometimes we have in our community they have this expectation that we should be tough
All
and
right.
strong, like strong. We have the island warrior
Yeah.
mentality, right? To be strong all the time. But the thing is, I feel like that the truth is we're human. Right? You know what I'm saying? So like we're all gonna go through hard times and we're all gonna deal with it. And I feel like that part of growth is learning how to deal with your failures in a healthy way,
Right.
Yeah.
right? Because it's gonna happen, no matter whether you don't like it or not. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna fail.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of Polynesians, like we're just not taught how to fail forward, right?
Right.
Um, when we ask about our parents, right, or elders, deal with it. Tuga lapisi,
Yeah.
right? Tuga
But
lapinoa,
you're
eh?
having the conversation.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of time is like my wife really helped me with that because like I'm a guy that likes to when I have issues, I keep it to myself.
yeah,
When I was going through my struggle, when I was working, and I really hated it, right? Every single part of every single day, it was a domino effect to every
yeah,
other aspect of my life. She sits down and rather than, hey, this is what you should do, just I feel like a lot of us always trying to tell people what to do, but never actually listen. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Because if you listen, then they already tell you the problem. You can't try to fix something if you don't know what the problem is.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah. They listen to reply, but they don't listen to understand.
Right, right.
Yeah, right. And I think that's the thing. Like, 'cause you know how it is. Like, if you hold something in, it's like a ticking time bomb. Like that shit
Yeah,
is gonna
It's gonna come out
it's gonna blow up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why there's, in my experience, that's why I feel like there's a lot of mental health issues, people dealing with drug abuse, alcohol abuse. Yeah, that's their way of dealing with their, because they've never been taught how to deal with their problems. They find the easiest way to deal with it, which is alcohol, drugs, joining gangs, being around the wrong crowd, because they just don't know. And they feel like that if we take the time to teach them, hey man, this is okay, and then give him a healthy way to express themselves, and give him a guide, a path to go through, then they wouldn't be, they wouldn't make some bad choices in life. And I just see that happen too many times.
Yeah.
So, but for you guys, with your relationship with your parents, do you guys consider it more open now than before, or is it still kind of like, is it still a work in progress, or is it open now?
I feel like with me, it's definitely 100% open now.
Yeah.
With both my parents.
With us, it's still that, I don't know. My dad's really, my wife knows my dad. He's really a tough guy to talk to.
I think what with that is like his dad. I don't know if you want to talk about his leg.
Yeah. So
like, oops, should I have asked?
No,
I mean like with his dad, when back in Tonga he had a really bad accident and now he has a prosthetic leg, and I feel, if I'm still able to go work and iate and
got you.
Why are these kids crying?
Complaining. Yeah.
So,
I see it that way.
Yeah, he's really like that because his whole life, he's always dealt with difficulties. And always overcame it, right? And of course, he's a go-getter, and that's something I really learned from my pops about everything I apply towards work. But in that way, he never really wanted us to struggle the way he did. So that kind of never gave us the type of work ethic that he has.
Yeah.
But like talking to him, to my mom is really open, but with my dad, you got to have a point behind what you're doing.
Or you talk to mom to talk to dad.
Yeah.
That's always the case. We always talk about mom.
For him, he's like, man, you show me what you got. Like prove it to me that you can do it, or what is your reason behind it. Like now, I feel like I could talk to him, but he still he stands his ground, man. Yeah, but I can have a conversation with him. It's just we butt heads in the beginning, but we're like, okay, this is how it's it.
Yeah, I think the older he gets, I think now he's realizing.
Yeah, because we had a situation in our family where we thought it was gonna be crazy.
Yeah, but he ended up surprising us.
Yeah. So
I think for my parents, like we're all split up, all five of us. We all live in different states.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for my mom, whenever we get together, now she realizes, we're all growing up and we're all separated. So whenever we do have something to talk about, she values that a lot differently than when we were living all in one household.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the one thing I see a lot with my friends, right? Because that's the thing. Like our parents expect us to have their mentality, their work ethic, because they grew up in Tonga. Mm-hmm. All right, and then when they look at us, like sometimes I think we're soft, like all right. And then I remember having a conversation with my friends, and that's something that was brought up. My dad never thinks I'm good enough or I'm tough enough. He thinks I'm soft. I'm soft because I like something outside of what they want, right? Especially if somebody wants to do something like making clothes, like making T-shirts, or something in Polynesian parents, like they might think that's feminine if you like fashion.
Yeah.
Right. So and then I think we just had a conversation. I had to break it down to them. I want to give this to people that are listening, like especially if there are Tongan parents watching this, and I realized that our parents, like their work ethic and their circumstances that they developed was from the struggle. But the thing is, like, you can't expect us to develop that same kind of mentality or work ethic because it's not the same as Tonga, or because it's better living conditions here, better opportunity. And then as far as for us, like we have to develop that on our own.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the only way we can develop that is like we have to, our parents have to push us and encourage us in the hard times.
Yeah.
And so that we can keep moving forward, because if we're able to overcome our struggles, then we'll develop that work ethic, that perseverance and that persistence.
Yeah.
But because our parents are not really supportive, when we go through hard times, we want to give up, because we feel like we are disappointed. And if we always give up in life, we're never going to grow and develop ourselves, our character, and our mentality. And I feel like that's the disconnect. And for me, I finally understood that. I was like, oh shoot, I can never be like my dad and experience what he went into. And I gotta be myself. I gotta be my own man. And then whatever, even if he may think I'm not tough or I'm not strong as he is, it's all good. I gotta be tough for me. I gotta be tough in my own way. And I feel like self-identity is important, right? Like developing your own self-identity and not trying to be somebody, or not trying to be like your dad or your mom, because we can never be like our mom and our dads. No matter, we can only be like ourselves and our best version of ourselves.
Our best us.
That's so true. Yeah, just because like just going back, it's something that I've seen the way my parents were. Like, man, everything that they did was to put us in a better place. Right? And they did it out of their best. However, they never let us struggle so we can see the value.
Exactly.
They never wanted to see us, struggle with, financially struggle with anything, just because they always want the best for their kids. Any parents would do that.
Yeah.
That kind of made it a weak link for me and my siblings to want to be like, or have the same.
Learn how to actually.
Right.
Yeah, like the overprotective. Like it's too overprotective from life.
If something happened, they would just, out of the goodness of their heart,
they'll take care of it.
Give it to you.
Right.
Or they still scold you, but they would still give it to you instead of, okay, now you have to work for it. And
Yes. So okay. So for you guys right now, so I want to talk about more about what do you do? What do you guys do as far as like you guys' goals and dreams and your career paths in life? And I want to kind of share that with everybody that's watching. So what do you guys do? What's your passion? What's your dream? What's your goals? What do you guys do that makes you guys happy? And then kind of talk about that process, which is, I think it's important to share that process and that journey.
Yeah. So growing up, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like our parents taught us doctor, all this. So
that's the doctor or lawyer.
Yeah, doctor or lawyer. So that was my path. So I was on the road to become, I wanted to become a physician. And so I went to the military, and I was, then I started thinking about school. Then this guy and I, we were long distance. So I was like, someone has to move. Anyways, long story short, I got into nursing. And so when I started working in the ICU here in Seattle, I realized really the behind the scenes, Grey's Anatomy is nothing.
That's my show right there.
Okay. My first day on the job, I had to help my colleagues, clean up, one of the patients that had just passed, and it was a daily thing, and it varied from age to age. And then I realized, like, I was getting kind of burnt out, and I'm only like at that time like 24.
Yeah.
And I realized that I knew I wanted to help people, but I don't know if I could see people struggle and pass away and get to know them, because in the ICU, patients stay with you for a while.
Yeah.
And so, and I was in the oncology, so a lot of our cancer patients. So anyways, now I'm in the administration. I do the behind the scenes work now. So instead of bedside nursing, I help with the care plan. I help try to develop ways to help patients, especially right now with COVID. So we help try to figure out ways to, better their care. And I work here at the UW here in Seattle.
Okay.
So I'm in healthcare, to sum it
up. So before we transition off to Pasi, I want to ask you, so did you, in the beginning of your life, did you try to be a lawyer, try to strive towards what your parent wanted you to be in the beginning, in the early?
Yeah, I tried to do the doctor thing. Then I realized, damn, I got hella school to do. And then I went down to PA. Oh, Pasi I will tell you, I talked so much shit about becoming a nurse because And I will always be like, oh, all polys want to just be a nurse. Why can't we be doctors? Why can't we
Yeah.
be PAs?
Yeah.
So I did the doctor thing. Then I realized, oh, that's not going to work. Then I went down to PA. Oh, that's not going to work. Then I went down to nurse practitioner. Oh, that's not going to work. Now I'm down to the nurse. Now I'm in administration. So I tried. Yes, I tried.
No, I want to piggyback what you said. I feel like that's very important to kind of everybody that's listening, especially when it comes to figuring out your life.
Yeah.
I think it's trial and error. That's the only way you can figure it out. Because I feel like for me, when I growing up, like when I was trying to figure things out, because sometimes we're, the way we brought up from our parents' expectation, it's very narrow-minded. Like it's this way or this way, or it's never gonna work out. But then what I realized is like you have to keep trying things that you like, and then if it doesn't work out, that's absolutely fine, and just move on to the next thing, and don't worry about the criticism. People think, oh, you failed in that area, your disappointment. And I think that stops us from trying new things because we're so afraid of failure, right, and disappointment. But then what I realized in life is just like you gotta keep failing, and then eventually you'll find something that you like, and then once you like it, then you can just go all out.
Exactly.
So I think that's important. That's beautiful what you said. Like just keep trying. Yeah. But now you're a nurse. All right.
For me, growing up, I grew up in Tonga. There's no football. All right.
Yeah.
So, man, growing up, I always wanted to be a general in the military. That was like one thing. I wanted to be a general, but when I moved here to the States, I was like, okay, my goal is to be in the NFL.
Yeah.
Right? Just like most of us, I want to go because I feel like seeing our parents and the way they work, man, you want to make them proud and you kind of want to help, get them out that struggle.
Yeah.
Appreciating everything they've done, they've done for us. So in my way, I was like, okay, like let me go and see how far I can get with football. And for me, one of my biggest regret in life, my only regret in life, honestly, everyone said I have no regret. I had one regret is that I never went to go as far as I could, right?
Got you.
Yeah. So, because after high school, I just went to college, being in aviation, but I never wanted to try to go and walk on to a football team and see if I can't even get on, right? Before I even hang up the shoelace, like, oh man, this is not for me.
Yeah.
That I never went that far, and that's something that I've always regretted my entire life because I could have been in the position now, to put my family in a better place if I would have went far. But after that, that's when I went through my journey in college, trying to figure out, like, man, what do I actually like to do?
Yeah.
Like I love airplanes. I always liked flying. Okay, let me go aviation. When I sat down in aviation, I had a mentor that I spoke to, and he was like, well, do you actually like flying as a career or do you like it as a hobby? I said, man, I think I like it as a hobby. He's like, well, find something that you love to do and use the money that you make from that passion, right? And buy an airplane. So, well, now I'm going on a different journey. I've sat down in electrical engineering classes and all these other majors that I went through until I sat down in the construction class, which kind of bring me back to my childhood. My grandpa was he's a civil engineer, and then, my dad, he works in construction. So I'm like, okay, this is something I'm familiar with. Getting out of college, going through the, actually working there, man, the money was always good, right? Money was always great, but man, just the way it made me feel, it was unhealthy. And from there, I was like, I really got to find something that I really love and I'm passionate about. And then that's what brought me into entrepreneurship.
COVID.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So that brought me to entrepreneurship and to get into business. I've always had love for real estate. So, I always had love for real estate. So I'm doing a little bit of that. And then I'm in the financial industry. Something I never thought ever in my life that I would be in. But man, I actually have a real passion for it just because like sharing how important finances is. With people and actually understanding it. Because when we hear the word finance, I feel like a lot of us get scared because there's a lot of, fancy words right? That people will use in the industry that scares people. But my journey now is to bring more Polynesian people into that industry or any other industry. Because like I said, growing up, you had two choices. It was either go in the construction route or go be a football player or an athlete.
Yeah,
Right?
yep,
If I grew up, right, 50 years from now, if I was a kid, right, and you see people of your culture in medical and a lawyer, finances, real estate, you
yeah,
know, you see our people in there, it makes it easy for us to go in that path.
yeah,
You know, so now that's and then my biggest dream I share with my wife all the time is to actually retire my parents. You
yep.
know, retire my parents and retire her mom. I don't know if that's if she gonna watch this video. That's a secret. You know, that's been my life journey. Is now that I'm in the entrepreneur space. Is to do that because I know once I do that, man, that means that me and my wife will, and our kids will be good.
Yeah, no, that's good, man. Like, I think the way you said it was beautiful. Was like, because the COVID when COVID hit, that's when I decided to, because I've been doing sales for 7 years. I've been doing sales for 7 years, so I learned a lot about finance. And one thing you realize when you start, the reason why people are poor is not it's just because of lack of knowledge of money.
All right.
Exactly.
People just don't understand how money works, and that's why people saying that that cycle of poverty, right?
Mhm.
And then and also for me, when I realized that because like I said, I want to take my family out the struggle. I want to be the first millionaire in my family. Break that cycle. I realized that we have to, in order to live that life, that we have to do things very opposite of how everybody's living.
Yeah.
All right. So I kind of want to ask you about that. Is like, because when you guys go down your path, I already know because anybody that's trying to fulfill their dreams knows this, that path is kind of lonely, right?
Yeah.
Going the path of just walking your own path and going against everything you've been taught, going against everything that your culture, your family is used to.
Yeah.
It's a difficult and lonely path, but it is a path that's worth it at the end if you commit to it and you put in the work.
Yeah.
So, and also what you said is true, man. Like that's something that I'm really, really passionate about, and why I started this podcast and why I'm trying to do and inspire people, because I feel like how powerful would it be growing up if I saw other people doing, as Polynesians that look like me, doing the professions I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Right. Because I feel like you said, the reason why we only think that we can only succeed out of yacht construction or NFL, because that's the only profession that we see people in our culture excel in.
All right.
Sure.
If that's, I think I forgot what it said, but our reality is what we see. What we see is what we believe in, what we achieve. Right.
Yeah.
So if that's all you see, then that's always going to be our focal point of what we believe and confident of doing in life. But it'll be very powerful, I think, if like you guys doing your thing, and I know you guys will kill it, and all of us are wishing the best for everybody that's working towards their dreams, because 50 years from now, if there's so many, if our success is so diverse in all professions, then the next generation, they're growing up seeing nurses, doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, podcasters, video content creators, YouTubers. Man, like if they see that, it'll be easy. That'll give them so much confidence knowing that it can be done. It can be done.
Right. Yeah. And then like having that as like a mentor, you know what I mean? Like because for me, like you look at like a lot of us, right? Like for me, like man, I can get into construction because man, I know a lot of people in it.
Yeah, it's possible.
Like how is that? You know what I mean? Or I can be like you say, growing up an NFL player. There's some probably out there you can connect with, on social media nowadays and be like, man, how was that? What did you do to train? Right? You can reach out to them.
Yeah.
Have a connection, like you said, like having us so diverse in all these different fields. I feel like that's also some type of mentorship that we can reach out to and connect with. Right?
Yeah.
And also it will definitely help you dealing with the hate, the critics and the negative people.
Yeah.
Right. For me, if somebody told me growing up that you can never become an NFL player, I'm like, yo, kick rocks, because I see all my people playing NFL. Right. Like there's no way you could convince me of my dream being an NFL player, because I see a bunch of Tongans succeeding and making Pro Bowls and
Yeah.
like they're killing it. So I think that's one of the most important aspects is like, and why I feel so much responsibility of doing what I do, and that's why I don't, because I know that a kid 50 years from now, one day watch this video, watch you guys, watch our journey process. When their family tells them you can't do it, it's impossible, they'll be like, well, I seen a Polynesian woman, a Tongan woman do it. I seen Nane do it. I seen Pasi do it. I seen Will do it. Shoot, you can't tell me I can't do it because I see somebody that grew up in the same circumstances as me.
Yeah.
So I do want to ask you real quick. So in your process and journey of working towards your own goals and dreams for yourself, what were the biggest sacrifices that you had to make for yourself? The kind of was related to your family, to your culture, things that you had to sacrifice yourself as a Tongan, and that kind of went against the Tongan way of thinking of Tongan lifestyle, because you realized that wasn't gonna help you put you in your path to do what you do. So what were the sacrifices you had to make personally in your life as a Tongan man, as a Tongan woman, for you to be able to live a dream today? And I want to kind of share that with everybody.
I'm going to be 100%. I feel like in healthcare, that's really maximized within our community, our families. I know my mom's a caregiver. So that's something that I don't think struggle or sacrifice is a big thing on my end. I think more you, because, if I was always at work, and whatever I was doing, my mom knew that I was bringing in money and I was helping people. So it wasn't really much of a struggle. I think it was struggle with time.
Okay.
There was a lot that I always had to give up. There was always time that I was always giving because, I was always, those are long shifts, when you work.
Mm-hmm.
But that was only between us. There was nothing really culturally.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think for you,
Yeah.
maybe though.
Culturally, I don't think culturally, but I think the fact that, like personally, just between us, like getting enough for a job that was, that was going to pay well, right? Just pay, and I gave up.
Oh yeah.
So I had a job opportunity that was going to pay me 6 figures when I got out of college, which is kind of crazy, right? But the time that I was going to be away was just ridiculous. Probably see my wife once a week.
And you were unhappy, and you were unhappy at that also doing it, right?
Right. So even though the money was, I was gonna have to sacrifice my time with my wife and my family, right, and the things that I love to do. But now
I feel like when you worked at the city, that was like really a big thing because
okay. So city of Seattle out here in Washington, pretty much that's where you see a lot of polys they work for the city of Seattle. And I get why, right? It's a good job, right? It's good pay. And also a lot of the benefits they have one of the best benefit packages, right, out here. So for me to leave that was kind of like, my dad was like, man, you're married now, you got to take care of your family, right? Like you need those benefits, to take care of your family. Leaving that was for me, I didn't care about that. It was for my well-being, for what I like, for my passion. And I think coming from, talking to my dad about that, since he's in the same space as, as a businessman, he understood that, So a lot of stuff with business now, he and I can talk about it, because when he never knew, like, I'm like, Dad, are you telling me to go get a job? You hated that job too. And that's why you want to start your own business, man.
Yeah.
He and I vibe in that a lot because we talk a lot about business and, what we do for our family. So me and my pops really connected me with that. And for me, like growing up, my dad was always working, right? Always working. We never saw him. So that's something I wanted to change for my family.
Yep.
I want to be there for my kids. I want to be at every football game, every sports event, stuff like that. Because man, even though I understood why my dad went to work, because he wanted to provide for his family, but we didn't get time with him. So, growing up, I never really got time with my dad. And, as a man of faith, I pray, ask God, like, hey, like, I want to spend more time with my dad, So when I got let go of my job, man, I work with him, you know, doing side jobs and stuff like that. And that's how I spend time with him, just visiting him on his job sites and stuff like that, which I'm really grateful for. But I think the struggle was like just leaving a secure job, knowing I still have responsibility, right? You got rent to pay, I got to take care of, us.
Yeah.
But understanding that the career path I'm chasing, yeah, it's going to be a struggle, but it's going to pay off.
I think in that situation, when Pasi was struggling with having a city job, that was in his position was a different position than all the other. It was a really good position, and still Pasi was not happy. And then in that situation, I really realized that money cannot make you happy. There was a day where I literally went to go drop off Pasi, and you were dreading work, and I told him that I would wait outside, quit your job, I would wait outside for you. Like at that point, I thought about like he said, his well-being. Like it didn't matter if we had benefits from that job. It did not matter. I saw this man get up every day and dread going to work, even though it was paid well.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think everybody know it, but everybody know the city. You can look up everybody's pay. Pay. And I had one of the highest paying, like out of college.
Yeah.
So humbly.
Like I'm not trying to,
just keeping it real. You keep it fact. It's facts.
But that's to go to show that he did not even care. Right. I did.
People were tripping. They're like, "You're leaving?" Why do you think about leaving? I'm like, man, it's a good pay. Well,
and his parents, it was a struggle. Even my parents, even my mom. Because it even got to the word to my mom, like, oh, Pasi's working at the city, what? And when they found out that he wasn't working there, it was always like, why?
Yeah,
and if you were to say he just wasn't happy there, that was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
He didn't understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I had all different type of people hit me up, like, oh, I heard you left the city. Like, dude.
It's more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's no, it's funny. Like, I went through the same thing this year in pandemic. Like I said before, I was doing sales for 7 years. It was a 6-figure job.
Yeah.
I was making good money. But for me, it wasn't like fulfilling.
Yeah.
The one thing I am glad going to work in that career in sales, because I was a sales manager for a door-to-door sales company, for an energy company.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot about entrepreneurship, learning about communication, door-to-door, rejection, talking to people, how to start a business. So that's I'm grateful for. But I realized for 7 years, I wasn't excited, I wasn't happy. And then at the tail end of my last 7 years, I was fussy, just dreading getting up every day.
Yeah.
I would literally wake up like 2 hours before I was supposed to wake up and just stare at the wall, like, oh my God, I have to get out to work. But I never had the courage, because that's the hardest. You talked that you hit it in the nail. Like that's a really hard decision, especially if immigrant, coming from immigrant parents, coming from Tonga, you're coming from poverty, is giving up the comfortability, the stability, to pursue something you're passionate about. And that's something that's really, really hard to do. No. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, nah, I got to do what I can do. I like podcasting. I like social media, and I like being an influencer, and that's something I'm really passionate to do, helping more people.
Right.
So when you said that, I was like, I just had flashbacks right now, just thinking about my.
It didn't take me long. It was like
2 months.
Yeah.
This guy was 2 months.
I was like, it took me 2 months, man. I was like, yeah, I'm out of here. Because like the first month, I was like, man, I'm gonna climb to the highest position, which is like the director, in the city. I'm gonna climb there, and then I think we'll be good. But
that didn't last.
It didn't last, because so for me was like my dream was bigger, right? So the amount of money that I need to fulfill my dream was bigger than what I was gonna get paid over there. I mean, that's just a portion of it, but everything else was about just like, I just need to get out of there. It's not something I'm passionate about. Like you mentioned earlier, if you're really passionate about it, you'll go 110%. If you're not, probably putting like 40, 50, maybe 60%, of your effort into it.
But we were talking about this last night though, happiness is like, I feel like the primary, mission when you are trying to find what you do. However, in our world today, especially with this pandemic going on, you still have a family to feed, you still have to provide,
Yeah.
So though, you want to be driven by your happiness, you want to be wise, you want to make decisions that are not going to, hinder you and be like, I should have thought about that a little longer.
You gotta be rational about it. You gotta be
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So though, there's a balance between things, So before he was he decided to leave or whatever, like find another job and then leave. Or what are you gonna do? We got a plan B.
Right.
You have a plan, yeah.
You have to have a plan,
you can't just get up and leave, because like you said, you still, like we talk about, we still have responsibility.
Yeah,
like, I feel like that's the necessary sacrifice. Right? Like you leave what you were dreading, but have a backup plan, just because, like, for example, like if I were to leave that job, right, find another job that I'm okay doing it, but building my business on the side.
Yeah.
Right? Until that replaces my income. Then I find I'm going full throttle when I focus on one thing 100%.
Yeah.
So,
but the general idea is yes, be driven by your happiness, but do it like you said, be rational about it.
Yeah, I think that's something I really want to express to the viewers, because I don't want people here to say, oh, I'm gonna listen to them, just give up everything.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? I was like, whole time.
And then
I
if
listen
they
to
feel,
this podcast, I just quit my job.
Yeah, bro. Hey, Pasi told me to quit, man.
Yeah. I wanted to throw that out there.
No, so I want to add something to that, and I think that's how I did it, because money, stability is important, right?
Yeah.
You have to take care of your financial responsibility, especially if you have a family, right?
Yeah.
But one thing I want to share with the viewers is, when you're chasing your passion, your dream, make sure, like I said, have a plan.
Yeah.
And have a plan and make sure you're responsible, take care of the people you love. But sometimes, but for me, it's like sometimes, like you don't, in order to be happy and to take care of your family, doesn't necessarily mean you can, like, you don't need $100,000 to take care of your family.
Right.
If you want to give up $100,000 job and work a $50,000 job, because that gives you more time to work on your goals and dreams,
Right.
that's still okay.
That's
Yeah.
so
Right.
Good.
Right. So that's still
Yeah.
okay. And that's one of the hardest things. Like, you may have to cut down on your lifestyle
Yeah.
in order to pursue your goals and dreams.
Exactly.
So right now, right now, I like, as far as when I worked those 7 years, I used to just live a different type of lifestyle. But now, living my dream right now, doing what I do, my expenses, I cut down everything. What I spend is only like for necessities.
Yeah.
Like, I don't buy any extra shoes or clothes. Everything I do, I invest into my dreams.
Right.
But then, and the thing that was the hardest thing for me, was like changing lifestyles. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard.
Yeah.
Now I can't just go eat out every day. I can't just buy something I want now.
It's almost
Now,
a decade of your life. Yeah.
When I go on dates, I'm like, hey, we gotta try fast food now. Or like, what I'm saying? Like, I have to cut down my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And really had to kind of get used to it. And I think the biggest thing was hard for me to do that was just, I was so afraid of the perception of people, because they used to see me with a good job.
Right.
Right. Oh, Will got it. Will successful, and he has a good career. And when I kind of shifted from that, I realized people, especially my family, they started talking, oh, Will's broke now.
Yeah.
And then I'm not broke. It's just like, I'm very frugal now.
Right.
But I had to learn, understand that, and of course, good thing when you listen to entrepreneurs, they always talk about that. They always had to talk about, they have to like eat shit for a while.
Yeah.
Like, they have to go through the grind and the hardships, and cutting back, and not spending on things that doesn't make your business grow.
Yeah.
So I just want to put it out there for you. Like, if you working towards your goals and dreams, you don't necessarily need. You do need to be happy. That's important. But you can be happy in working at a $40,000 job, $50,000 job, and still take care of your family responsibility. If you plan out your expenses right, you can still take care of your family and still do your thing. But you don't need to have a good job to take care of your family, but you're not happy.
Exactly.
Yeah, we just talked about this the other day. It's like, man, it's like we can blow $1,000 a week, but when you have $100 to last, you can make that last.
Bro, I last $100 for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2
Now
weeks.
you know, like, oh man, I really could have done this with my money.
Yeah, exactly. Bro, yeah, I'm looking back, I can't believe I wasted so much money back in the day.
Yeah,
but that's the lessons of life. When you go through the process, you learn it. You just learn it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy. So I kind of want to go into your YouTube channel. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about your YouTube channel.
Okay.
I do want to, because I guess I know people are gonna watch this. I think they should come in. Hopefully, they subscribe to you guys too as well. They check you guys out. You guys are cool people. So I want to ask you, what made you start your YouTube channel? What inspired you to start it? And also, the things that the difficult criticism that came with it.
Yeah.
Because that's the hardest thing about starting a YouTube channel and putting yourself out there for the open world, right? There's gonna be a lot of positive people, but there's a lot of haters out there.
Yep.
So yeah, I want to ask you, why did you start a YouTube channel, and why did you start it, and the process of you doing it? Yeah.
So I started the channel. We are going to transition it to hours, but I think that's a little sneak peek right there. But I think it was really his sister. His sister has a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
And so she, I've gone through a lot of things in my life, and she always, whenever we would ask for advice or talk, I was able to kind of share my story. And so they always kept saying, start a channel. And then the pandemic hits. Though I was working at the hospital, I was still working. It was nice to kind of do something else. So I started the channel because of the pandemic. And I solely started it just because, like you said, there's not a lot of Polynesians out there talking about certain things, that are important, or that it is important, but we're not vocal about it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the sole reason why I started it. Even though we've talked about some controversial things on there, we did talk about Asuelu when that whole situation.
Asuelu.
Yeah, when his mom was asking for money. That's when Pasi and I started the whole Poly Talk, our podcast, style. We went back and forth, like, should we talk about it? What questions should we ask? Because we were kind of nervous, that it was going to get to a place where it was going to be negative. And we tried to make sure that we talked about both parts, our perspectives and maybe why they said certain things that they said on there. So, but you know what? The negativity really isn't, some people will say certain things. One of our videos is when we spoke Tongan all day, 24 hours, and I don't speak it very well.
Yeah.
Some people will say certain things on there. You when you put yourself out there, you have to be ready. You have to understand that that's going to happen.
That's how it works. That's social media.
How it works. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Whether or not you take it to heart, that's why it's always good to talk to someone about it. If you can't deal with something like that, then maybe that's not something that you should.
Let's turn off the comments.
Or turn off the comments. But I enjoy comments because I love conversation. You have something to say that you didn't think of.
Yeah.
It gives you.
Yeah.
I think for me, I encourage you to start it, but once you started it, I'm like, man, I don't want to because I've always been the private person.
Very
Very private. Don't really show my life like that. The friends and brothers of mine, I call them brothers, guys I grew up with, like they've always been the same guys my whole life. Right. So I've always been a private person, but for me it was all like understanding, like that makes her happy, but also understanding the value behind it is really to get, it's like what you're doing. Right, is really to get people to express themselves, and also just do it for fun.
That's really what
it's fun when you do what you do.
It's
hella fun.
Right.
There's more positivity, honestly, than negativity with this YouTube channel. We would get DMs, just talking about things that we would talk about on there, and sometimes people are afraid to comment on there because it's a public platform, so they will privately message us. And we will hop on Zoom with them. Like it has brought us so much, I think, joy, honestly, with the YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that I always wanted to make sure was that I never wanted to make YouTube our life. One thing that we
Yeah.
agree on was we agree on everything. I mean, we keep everything 100%,
Yeah.
right? What goes behind closed doors is not closed door when we open up the camera.
Yeah, yeah.
We just wanted to keep it real, like
Yeah.
not have like a different lifestyle behind the camera than we
Yeah.
do, have in person. So that's one thing we wanted to make sure to do that, because we learned from past YouTube couples,
Mhm.
right? They put things out there just to put things out there rather than just
For viewers, they wanted
Yeah.
they're doing it for, it's not being real. They did it. It's like it's not their, yeah. They're doing it to make sure they get people to watch it. Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So when you so are you guys, so what, so now you got transitioned into a couple YouTube channels? Is that what you said?
It's been some time since we filmed, only because there's been a lot of things happening in our life. But yeah, we want to slowly transition it because everyone loves this guy. So he brings a lot of value, like you said. I think one of the things that a lot of people like to turn things down in general is because they're not educated behind it. And so
Yeah.
we want to incorporate a lot of that with our channel. Yeah, and just have fun with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, not make it like a job. We feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it's just something you guys like to do, passionate about.
yeah.
It's funny. Like, I always find it funny because you know how Polynesians are. We're so afraid of being seen as imperfect. So I feel like the positive thing of being on social media, especially when your content is more for is specifically made for Polynesian people, that you're probably not going to get a lot of haters because people are afraid they put them to hate openly.
Exactly.
So Palangis, they don't mind putting their name.
Yeah.
They'll blast you publicly.
Yeah.
Right. Palangis are racist, but one thing I realized, which is a positive thing, I saw it. Oh, the good thing about Polynesians, even though a lot of people may disagree, but they won't disagree with you openly. They'll disagree with you privately. Like I'll get DMs from people disagreeing with my comments or my videos.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how come you didn't post this? I'll text back like,
so true,
hey,
huh?
I'm like, hey, post this in the comments, and we'll have a conversation.
So if I disagree with someone, I'll put it on the I'll message them or I'll call them.
Yeah. But that's something with the channel though that we're kind of trying to steer out of. We don't want to just target our Polynesian people, to be honest.
Oh yeah.
We're now trying to transition. Before we were like, we only targeted the Polynesian audience, but now we're trying to speak on more general terms because even though us Polynesians can relate, there's probably other people.
Yeah, for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah,
add value to everyone.
Exactly. So yeah.
So I want to ask you guys. So one thing I do notice, because I noticed a lot of this happens to a lot of people, especially when you're working towards your passion, your dreams, and your business plans. But did you guys always find it hard? Because when you start a business, when you start something you have to invest a lot of time, and also invest a lot of capital too. You got to invest money into it to make sure it grows.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I hear a lot from people from our generation, people that want to start things, is the ability to be able to make themselves a priority and invest their time and their capital into their goals and dreams. Because as Tongan kids, we're expected to give everything we have to our families, right? Mom needs
talking about this.
Mom needs money. Mom, like I remember the first couple of years growing up, my paycheck just went straight to my
mom.
My mom and my parents and my family back in Tonga.
Yep.
And then in the beginning, it was cool, right? It was good. But then as I grew up, I realized that, I'm not actually doing the thing. I'm struggling financially myself.
Yep.
To take care of other people. And that's putting me that's not putting me in a good place as far as my well-being.
Yep.
And I realized that I wasn't able to function. I wasn't able to perform at my best efforts. Yep. And when I'm not, financially stable myself and actually doing the things I want to do. So I had I had to make that transition, that hard choice. You know what? I gotta take care of myself first,
Exactly.
and my time away from my family, and the money that they want me to give them, I had to tell them it's okay for me to. I can't give it to you
Yep.
because I got to do this for myself. Because the way I see it is, if you let me be myself, let me achieve my goals and dreams. When I make it, when I win, I'll come back and grab everybody.
Yep.
Right. But the thing is, what's the point of, for me, not taking care of myself, and we all suffer, and I don't get ahead, I don't progress.
Yep.
And then 20 years from now, I'm still in the same situation. And then you have to realize, so yeah, I want to ask you guys did you guys go through that process? Learning how to help yourself first, making yourself a priority, making your goals a priority, making your own life, your career goals a priority, and taking your time away from your family and telling your family, I'm sorry, I can't do this for you guys right now because I got to do this for myself. Yeah. And how was that? I want to talk about that experience, because that's one of the things I find it really. That's a common conversation I hear from a lot of young Polynesians is saying no to their mom and dad. Yeah. About when it comes to their time, when it comes to their money, of what they want to do for their life, and they're never able to get ahead because they just keep helping other people, but they don't help themselves.
Yeah. Pasi and I, we talked about those exact words in a video. I tried to, but it was very hard because I didn't know how to word it. I wasn't stumbling on anyone's toes. I totally agree with you, because we know so many people that will ask like, hey, we're all only getting older, and we'll catch up with a few people and like, oh, I gotta help with my mom, I gotta help my dad. And in my head, I'm like, sometimes you gotta be selfish with yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like you said, you're gonna be stuck in that same position for who knows how long. As far as for me, when I mentioned like the military, that was a very difficult decision to make. But I knew that if I was gonna just stick around in South Sac, just work. I knew school. I was always passionate about school, but like at that time, how was I going to get back? So I had to break out of that norm and go military route. And then from there, figure out, because there comes education, free school, free, I have opportunities open more, So
so you had to leave.
I had to leave my family. I had to say no to like sticking around, even though it's gonna be hard,
And you're the eldest too, right?
And I'm the oldest, Yeah. But it was a decision that I knew that if I make this decision, it could probably open more doors rather than if I stay here and just work. I'm very stagnant if I stay. So yeah.
Because you saw it. The one thing I say is, when you make that choice, you're making it for the long term.
Exactly. You have
so that's what I always want to explain to everybody when I talk to my friends. They're like, look, you got to make long-term decisions. Yep. But the thing is, your family only sees it. They always want that short-term gain. They want that money now.
Yeah.
If you invest your money, if you give your money now to parents, that'll just help them now. Yeah. But if you invest your money into yourself, that will help you 10, 15, 20 years from now, like for generations. Yeah. And they just got to understand that long-term gain and the short-term gain. Yeah.
I think our parents, what always got to me was like always being tae ofa. Like if and you did this and this, they didn't understand it at the time you were tae ofa. And it would always hurt, like I didn't want to be looked at like that. But you knew sometimes best for yourself, and that it was going to there was going to be a reason for it,
when you say, this, I mean, for me, I'm not a I don't let people get to me. I'm at a place right now in my life that I don't really care what people say. Yeah. I'm really confident in myself. And but there's certain things that people, I don't get. It takes a lot for me to get mad, right? Yeah. I don't let people let people control how I feel about myself. Mm-hmm. But there is one thing that it still irritates me today is when people tell me I'm tae ofa.
Yeah.
Because people don't see all the things I've done behind closed doors, right? Exactly. All the times I've helped my family back in Tonga, all the times I helped my parents, all the money. I've like I'm telling you, if I counted how much money I gave to my family, probably bought another house.
Exactly. If you don't do it one time, you're automatically tae ofa.
Exactly, right. And then when you say no the first time, that's the first thing they say is that I just think about that, like all those years, like I gave up those thousands. Like tens of thousands of dollars I gave up, But you want to call me that often. But that's something that always, it's really hard because as kids, we love our parents, we want to help our families, but it's one of the hardest thing about the process that we have to go through just to make it. Yeah.
Like for me, I don't, like honestly, I don't have that struggle. You agree?
Yeah.
I see it with my parents. All right, they have done a lot. I'm talking about a lot for our families. So so I would say, like, I don't want to put my dad's business out there, but be real out here. So like he's the breadwinner of the entire family.
Yep.
Right? So just seeing him doing that, and the lot of stuff that he has to give, and he always tells me like, man, this is my greatest responsibility, is to do this for my family. But in a way, it's kind of like, man, my man could have done a lot, with his money if he invests his money, more money into his business.
Yeah.
But I think it's more the opposite. I think for my parents, they rather give, and they said that they will always find a way to make more money. But I think they're more supportive in the way of getting my business to start. Right? It's like, okay, what do you guys need? You guys need help with anything. So it's not really a struggle, but in a way, I feel like them helping me doing that kind of gives me opportunities to just focus more on my business, not the financial side of things, right?
Yeah. I think one of the best advice I ever got about learning how to self-prioritize yourself. Have you ever heard of Coach Viliami Tuivai? You ever heard of him?
Yeah, I've talked to him before.
Oh yeah. So yeah, he's a keynote speaker, motivational speaker.
Yeah.
He's Tongan. He's the only Tongan keynote speaker I know.
He stays in Sacramento.
Yeah, he stays in Sac. He's in Sac, and he's one of my role models. People, one of my mentors for myself. I connected with him a couple months ago, and we were talking, have this conversation that we're having right now with him. And the one thing he said that the problem with Polynesians is that we give out of our poverty instead of giving out of our prosperity.
Yeah.
Like the reason why we're always poor is because we keep giving.
Yeah.
And we keep giving up out of our poverty instead of taking care of ourselves first.
Yep.
Instead of allowing people in our culture to grow, let them be themselves and let them chase their careers and dreams. And so that way, when they prosper, when they finally make it and be successful, they can come and give back.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think he's a sibling. I think he has like 6, 7, I think like 8, 7 siblings, and he has a big family. And he explained to me that he had to sit down with his family and discuss with them. Look, I think he's the eldest. I believe he's the eldest. That he told his family, like, look, like, let me do my thing for my own goals and dreams, and invest into myself. So that way, when I finally make it, I can come back and bring everybody.
Everybody.
But if I keep giving you my paycheck as soon as I get it, then I don't get ahead. And if I don't get ahead, then none of us get ahead.
Yeah.
He said I'm more useful being successful than being average. Like if you're struggling, you can't really do much for your family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you become successful, you can do more for your family, but you have to get there first.
Instead of me giving you $100, I can give you $10,000.
Yeah, I give it $10,000. Exactly. But let me do my thing for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then I could give you the uncle, the auntie always asking for money in your family. Yeah, he has always giving money.
I tried to talk about with the whole Asuelu thing. That was a very big thing. When his mom kept asking for money, and Asuelu kept saying, I have my family to feed. If I give you, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna eat?
Yep.
And so that's one thing we wanted to talk about on there, because it's a big thing, I think, especially with the OG parents. It's like, I don't know. That's a very sticky subject.
Yeah, it is because we know a lot of our friends, right, who struggle with that. We know a lot of our friends who helps their parents a lot, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. No.
But like you said, why don't you go accomplish your goals and see what you can put your parents in a way better place than you just being average right now.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah, that's something I believe that, like, you should never sacrifice your well-being, no matter who it is.
Yep.
Because if you're not happy, if you're in a good place, then you're like, then one thing I realized is at the end of the day, like when you go home and go into your room and you're alone, like what's the point of helping everybody, but you go home crying,
Yeah.
and crying yourself to sleep in a bad place, that it's not worth it at the end, I believe.
Yep.
But have you ever had to make that decision before, have you ever been in a situation where you had to say no to a family member?
Plenty of times.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy. It's not
Yeah.
easy, but it's okay for me to explain why.
Yeah.
There'll be times where you go visit and be like, my mom will be like, go give $100 to your grandma and stuff like that. But well, dang, I just spent like $500 to get a plane ticket here last minute. It's like things that you have to explain and then they understand. So getting upset doesn't help anything. It's just explain to them. They just don't understand. Just like how we don't understand about certain things. We always want it to be explained to us. I feel like we have to do that vice versa with the older generation. And if they still don't understand, then they still don't understand.
Yeah.
But it's not like you have to try at least.
Yeah, I think it kind of happened to me when I went to Tonga. So I went to Tonga like out of nowhere. I found out my uncle passed away, and I left it that same day. But just being out there, and I sort of, when you come from the States, man, everyone thinks you're a
millionaire.
You're a millionaire.
But, you leave everything, your whole luggage.
But I think seeing like my mom calls like, go give this and this. I was like, Mom, I just cashed out my paycheck. That's all I came here with. All right. So it's kind of like, all right, I guess I got $100 to last me 2 weeks out here. Give away all my money, but yeah.
Yep, saying no is hard, but you have to sometimes.
I know, and also just want to express this to the viewers, like, just give what you have. I think that's a conversation that we need to tell people, like, because one thing about Polynesians is we have Polynesian functions, we have church functions, Lipaanga, Misnale, all right. So one thing I love to see, people would, sacrifice their own livelihood to throw their money, so that way they can please their parents, so that way they can be seen like in church that they're doing their part.
They're doing their part.
And they're not criticized, or their faith is not questioned, or
exactly,
right. But then they struggle at home and have nothing to eat at home. And that's something I want to express to everybody, like, just give what you have. At the end of the day, like, people will always try to put there shouldn't be a monetary value when it comes to what you give.
Right.
And I feel like if people are judging you of what you give based on a specific number, I don't think those are the right people you should be giving to. Like,
exactly.
the people that for me, I've tried to do for my life. I always try to give what I have to people I know that care. Right. Because I'm not gonna be used. I don't like that feeling when people use me or manipulate me. Now, as when you're young, you don't know that. But you realize you go older, like certain family members would use you to manipulate you because they know that you wouldn't say no.
Exactly.
And they wouldn't care if you were broke. They wouldn't come to help you.
Exactly.
Right. But I realized, like, for myself, like, just give what you have, and that's okay. Like, whatever you have. And I think that ties to my religion, my faith too, like faith in God. Like, God knows what I'm giving. He knows if this $100 I have is all I have. And I'm not trying to front for everybody. And I think that's something I wanted to share to everybody. Like, just okay. So whatever you have, just give to your family. It's all about the intentions. It's not about the value of the number. If you're doing it, go ahead.
There was times where like Pasi would, like, we would drive by homeless people, and I would see Pasi give like 20s, 50s, and I'm like, for me that would be like, bro, that's rent right there, like. And I think it wasn't until Pasi made me understand that, like, we're richer in other areas. You're able to afford this 50 for this homeless. Who knows what they're gonna do with it? But it's the act of giving. We have a home to sleep in. We have a food to eat. And it took me some time to get over, like, him giving more than just the usual $1, in retrospect to what we're talking. But
for sure. I do want to talk about go through 60 regarding the topics. I do want to go into relationships, dating, and marriage since you guys are couples.
Only if you answer first.
So I think you guys could definitely add some value. I know there's a lot of Polynesians, people out there in general that they're trying to date, they're trying to find a relationship, trying to find the perfect person, and you guys can kind of have a lot of experience, from your own relationship. So I want to ask about that. What was your experience in the beginning, as a Tongan woman and a guy trying to date, and what was the hardship? What was the hardest thing about dating, being a Tongan woman and being a Tongan guy? And because I know when it comes to our culture, dating is tied into our parents, tied into our families, tied into our culture. It's not necessarily your own choice.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Is like I think my dad was saying, like, man, you guys are lucky that you guys dating in America. Back in Tonga, we used to have to hide from our parents all the time.
That's why I don't understand why they was tripped about us hiding, because you did it too.
Yeah. So I know. So yeah, So I want to talk about that. Your dating experience. What was the things that you struggle with dating? That you feel like a lot of people probably going through the same thing, and then I just want to get your experience on that.
I'll let you take this one first. What was so hard?
What was so hard? I think what was so hard because, like, I think we spoke about this, in our channel, but so we were dating when we was younger, like 16 years old, 15 years old. We just broke up. We went on a different path, and we reconnected. I think you were 19, 20, at the time. So the girl that I fell in love with at 16 wasn't the same woman at 20 years old.
Gotcha.
Right? So for me, it was like trying to keep our relationship intact with the woman I fell in love with at 16, but she was different at 20 years old. So like that was a lot of our struggle. Like I said, I was a really private person, so never really liked to talk about anything. When issues come up, I'd rather just put it on the back burner, and then next thing you know, we can argue today, or I wake up tomorrow, I'm like,
what are we eating?
That was yesterday. We don't even talk about that. So that's something I struggled with for a long time, was to understand how my spouse worked, right? Just because, like the women in my family that are growing up, the way they understand things, they understood me is not the same way my wife, my girlfriend would understand me.
Okay.
So like I had to understand how she works. She likes to talk about problems. I don't. I had to adjust to that.
Okay, got you.
She liked things a certain way. So and I like doing research on stuff like that. So I looked up like love languages. Like, what is her love language? And try to give her, because like I used to buy her flowers all the time, but she didn't like flowers at the time. Now she does. But like doing my research and just struggling. And for me, the biggest thing is really communication. We struggled with for a long, long time, and then now we're in a place where I feel like we're good enough to give advice too.
I think in the beginning, it's the same thing. We were together when we were a lot younger, gone our different ways, gone through a lot of different experiences, became a whole different person, or gained a whole different outlook on life, and then got back together, and it was very different. So learning how to redo things again. The distance also made, a lot of people probably, the distance, especially right now, you can't see your loved one. So I think I learned this with my sister because she was dating long distance as well. It's not the distance that kills the relationship. I think it's trust. So just learning how to trust one another, can make a relationship very strong.
Yeah, and then another thing is like it's two different things when you're dating someone, and then you actually live with someone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that applies to a lot of people too.
That's very looked down upon with our poly community.
Yeah, living together.
Yeah, living together before getting married.
Yeah.
Right. So for us, it was like, we lived together in college, and it was like
a whole different perspective. I know a lot of people can.
What did your parents say when they found out you guys were living together?
Honestly, we try to hide it, but they're not stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know that we're out there, just us. They notice there's a lot more pillows. Why do they need more pillows on the bed per person?
Yeah, I think it just got to a point that my parents kind of just understood it, right? Understood like, yeah, you guys work together.
But we definitely got that talk.
Yeah, we got that talk like,
don't have a baby before you graduate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the thing. And then another thing is too was like in the beginning, like um, like I don't want to speak on her behalf, but like in my household, like we're not really touchy, right? Growing up, my parents were really touchy. They never like they barely even they're not affectionate.
That's every Tongan. That's every Tongan parent.
So, like she comes, she's like, "Oh, you don't sit by me, you don't hold me in front of your family."
I didn't say all that.
Yeah, but it's like she always asks for a kiss. I'm like, dude, don't do that here. Like, no, like it's taboo. But yeah, that was like the struggle. Like she always sit like a little further from me and stuff like that. So that was always weird when my parents were around. But for us and my siblings are around, it's different. But yeah, for my parents, yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were guys growing up, like did your parents have expectations of who you wanted to date, or did they let you be free of your choices?
Oh no. I don't even know if my mom wanted me to date a Tongan, honestly.
Yeah.
She wanted me to date outside anyone but a Tongan, because who knows, their family. They come from a good family.
Yeah.
Who family is in Tonga.
Yeah.
All of that. Are they like, what do they do for a living? All of this.
Yeah. I think for me was I feel like I set the expectations for myself, right? Because my family is very important to me.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, a perspective of it didn't matter like the race. For me it was if my family was able to get along or she was able to get along with my family. Because one thing I always told myself, like, yeah, if you don't get along with my family, especially my mom, we can't be together. Like I value her so much, right? I mean, preconsciously, it's kind of letting my mom choose for me, but then again, in a way, it's like you got to be able to have a family that sticks around together, not make it awkward when someone comes around, right? But then when we started dating, and I see how she got along with my mom, like even sat there to talk to my dad, which was huge.
Yeah.
Right. So that for me, it was like, okay, she's really a family woman, and that's something I really value. And then that for me too was like, meeting the people that I call family too was really, that's something that I value.
Did you guys have conversations about the dating process of how to date with your parents? Because that's something I hear a lot of my friends, like, they struggle because like they don't have the conversation about intimacy, don't have conversations about dating, and because then they're left to figure out on their own. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but I feel like it does help a lot. And one thing I know about younger parents now, our generation, we have kids younger, that they're more in tune with their kids now. They're more open with the kids, teaching them about life a little bit more. But I know, like, our Tongan parents, this is like, we don't, as far as affection and anything to deal with dating, we don't have no conversations. No. I remember my own parents, we never talked about dating or at all. Or I never had that conversation with my dad about women and intimacy and everything. I just had to figure that out on social media.
Well, I think that was married couple. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's different.
Our moms speak kind of a little too much open now.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because it's like
weird.
Like, mom, just because I'm grown, man, I'm still your son. Like, you can't have conversations like that with me. Like, you never did. Why now? Yeah. But growing up, my dad never. I've heard about their dating life, but never any advice about ours.
Yeah.
Only when you mess up do they tell you, okay, this is what you should have done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So nope, none of that.
Okay. So now since you guys are married, right? Do you guys have kids? I forgot to ask that question.
Not yet.
No. So I just want to ask you guys, like, if you guys did have kids one day, what would be different of the way you raise them and your parenting style compared to your parents' parenting style. And that's something I see a lot. So that I see a lot of parents, a lot of young couples or young people that get married, have kids, because we're trying to break the way we grew up of certain things with our culture, something we grew up. So I want to ask you your opinion is, when you guys have kids one day, what is it going to be different? What are you going to take away that was good from your own parents, of how they raised it, and what are the things that you're going to change and kind of break that cycle when it comes to your own kids, when you guys have that one day?
We talked about this the other day. I think something that's kind of important for me that I never got growing up was affection.
Okay.
Able to, because I feel like with affection comes a lot of things. You're able to be more open. Not necessarily be my kids as like best friend, to the point where like,
You're too comfortable.
Authority.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do want to show my kids, like, I want to be able to, like, hug on Pasi and kiss Pasi, so my kids know that love is important,
Yeah.
And be able to show love is okay, because I feel like with our world today, there's a lot of hate going on, and it's so easy to have an opinion and then be so spiteful. So I really want to teach that amongst my kids is not that my mom and dad weren't very affectionate, but it was taboo in our household,
Yeah.
And so I want to be able to do that. But in return, my dad, he was also military. And I feel like now I know that before I go to sleep, I have to have the dishes clean. Maybe not every night, but even though it was kind of like orderly fashion, I learned the importance of making sure that things were done a certain way and to keep up with it,
Yeah.
I didn't understand it at that time, but it really helped in the long run.
For me is really spend a lot of time being around. Right, like I said, that like we grew up, we understood why my dad was never there, because he did everything that he could to put to provide for his family, right, and that's a sense of responsibility, of course. He's proud of, but for me is trying, like, that's why I want to build a business so I could be around, right, be around my kids. So that's, oh, it's frozen.
Yep. I think you guys are good.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was frozen for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
So so just just spending time with my kids, taking time out of work and just doing that. I think for me that's very important. And then another thing is let my kids struggle. Right. That's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. Like, even though it came out of the goodness of their heart, they wanted to protect us and they wanted to make sure we're okay. However, like, I want to let them struggle so they can find their character, build their character from there. Um,
I think another big thing, honestly, is tradition.
yes.
In my household, we weren't really taught like the fahu. We weren't taught
No,
anything
but I
like
understood
that until we got married, honestly. Where I was with Basi's family, did I see the value of the Tongan tradition?
Mhm.
At our wedding, it was something very big for me to really understand all that. And because I saw my mom doing it, I was like, you knew all this time, but we weren't really taught. So to make sure our kids know Tongan and English, and understand the importance of our culture.
Um, Another thing for me will probably be the like, you got to value family time, right? Like, even though, like, you can grow up with people, but when everyone, I mean, I can start seeing that. I'm starting to see that develop, right? Because I'm the oldest of five as well. So when me and my siblings are starting to grow up, everyone's going to start getting married, have their own kids, have their own life. But if you're trying to keep that bond, as you did growing up, then you will never lose that within your family, right? So just trying to make sure my kids, they know each other, they know their cousins, they stay close even when they get older.
Okay. All right. So for you, so I remember growing up. The one thing you guys said about is culture, right? So I want to ask you guys. So, did you guys ever struggle? Because I know you, Nane, you didn't grow up with the culture, right?
Mhm.
Did you ever struggle with like cultural identity where you felt like because you didn't know the culture, you weren't like Tongan enough compared to other Tongans? Because I feel like that's one of the things I hear a lot, right? From a lot of especially Tongans that come to America trying to adjust to the American lifestyle, where we want to be American, but we also want to be Tongan, and then there's sometimes people suffer with like self-identity of if you too American and people think you're not Tongan enough, and then if you're too Tongan and people think you're fob. Right. All right. So yeah, I want to ask you guys your experience, your thoughts on that. Because you guys are both Tongan, you guys grew up in Tonga, you guys moved here, adjusted to the American lifestyle. So how was that trying to find your identity of being a Tongan, and also just being an American as well, and finding your own self?
I talked to Pasi about this. Pasi sometimes makes it a joke, but he's not, malicious about it. But even though I don't speak the language, or I'm not like entirely in tune with our tradition, doesn't make me any less Tongan than you.
Yep.
I told Pasi that growing up, the way that I do the tradition was through ta'alunga. From a little girl, I always danced.
Mm-hmm.
And so I told Pasi that even though I don't speak it as well, that's how I practice my tradition, was through the motions of the ta'alunga. And so I always did that and represented my family through that. And so I want people to understand that even though you may not understand it because we grow up here, some things get lost along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's something to remember. But as long as you don't entirely lose it, I feel like you're still who you are. I never felt like I had to prove myself to anyone. I knew I looked Tongan. Some people thought I was Miko, but I would always be confident and say that I'm Tongan.
Mm-hmm.
And what I grew to understand, and what kind of was the driven force with the whole YouTube channel, is not a lot of people knew what Tongan was. You had to either say you were Hawaiian or Samoan because they knew the rock. So finding your identity to make sure that people knew you were Tongan and not, oh, it's like Hawaiian, oh, it's like Samoa.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think that's so for me it's different, man. So when I moved here from Tonga, like I spoke English, but it wasn't, you could tell, it was a 5 kid. Like, so all my cousins and stuff that grew up here, they spoke good English, they always made fun of me. All right. So, and I always beat them up for it and stuff like that. But it kind of made me like not want to care about my identity as a Tongan. So I really didn't. So growing up, man, like in the States, so going through high school and stuff, I didn't care, if people knew me as Tongan. People were like, "Oh, what's up, Bruce?" I just go with it. You're Hawaiian, like, yeah, like I didn't care at all. Kind of lost the language, right? It got to a point I couldn't talk to my grandpa, and then not until like my little brother, like, he probably never noticed, but man, it's something I learned from him. Him growing up, he was so proud to be a Tongan.
Yeah.
Like, he wanted all the Tongan. He put the Tongan stickers on my parents' car, the Tongan flag. Like, he was so proud to be a Tongan, carry the Tongan flag. Like, he loved telling people he's Tongan. So that made me like re-identify myself. Right? Because I started speaking Tongan again, picking up the language, work with a lot of Tongan guys. I started speaking Tongan when I went to Tonga back in 2016. People thought I lost the language, but I actually gained it back. So like growing up, I really didn't care about it, but now I do, because I love the traditions and the customs that come with it. Not all, but So I value that a lot. I identify myself as a Tongan, as a Polynesian guy. But before I really didn't. And moving forward, it's like I want to teach my kids that, because like 50 years from now, you got to know your identity, where you came from. Everybody's going to be a quarter this, quarter that, quarter this. You got to know where you came from, honestly. So like I said, in the beginning, it wasn't important, but now it is.
Oh, that's absolutely true. The one thing Nadia said, I think that's really powerful, that just because you don't grow up with the tradition, or you don't speak their language, does not make you less Tongan than anybody. Because me personally, in my opinion, I feel like being Tongan is representing your culture is all about pride.
Yeah.
You know, and of course, like, you know, it's our biology, number one. You know, you can't change it. Like, we're all biologically, we're Tongan. You can't change that. But one thing I don't like is like when, you know, when our community will put people down because they didn't go up in the culture or they don't speak the language.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, yeah, when you're prideful of who you are, where you come from, it helps you. It helps you progress in your own life.
Yeah.
And then just speak going off what Pasi said, I think for me is like, you know, when I like up in Tonga when I came here, you know, I'm proud. I was like your brother, little brother when I came here. I was a straightforward, but in my Tonga for life. I wore red every like I just wanted to represent Tonga. But as I started learning about the American culture, and lifestyle, and you know, my mindset, my thoughts, and my beliefs started to change of how I started to see life. And then when I realized for myself like what I wanted out of life, I think that's one of the hardest things of being Polynesian, being Tongan, and also trying to like excel and you know, achieve a better life, and you know, go out, you know, achieve your dreams and goals and dreams, is doing things that's outside of the culture and not necessarily let that affect your confidence in yourself as a Tongan.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you know, all my friends growing up, like, you know, they all they all wanted to chill, you know, fight kava every weekend, and you know, never had, you know, goals and things for themselves. You know, they just like that 9 to 5 lifestyle, get a job, which is fine. I have nothing against that lifestyle. If you like working 9 to 5 and party every weekend and then work Monday to Friday, right? Right. That's, you know, do you happy. But when I grew up because, you know, when I came to America, I had a dream. So when I started learning about the culture, I was like, wow, like you can do this in America. You know, I was just fascinated about the culture and the opportunity and how you can create anything you want here. But then I realized that if I wanted to live that lifestyle, I had to do things that most Tongans won't do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I had to change my social circle. I had to hang around different people that, you know, have a better mindset than me. So I had to hang out with more Palangis, right? Yeah. And then it was really hard because when I started doing that, people was, oh, feel Palangi, you know, you don't want to hang out with the boys no more. You don't want to hang out with us no more. You're too Americanized. Or you don't represent the culture no more. And that was really, really hard for me because I was Tongan too. I'm proud. And when people say I'm not Tongan enough or I'm being too Americanized, it hurts. But then I realized that, you know, as you grow up, like you gotta be. This is who I am, and this is my own self identity. And I don't, you know, nobody's gonna change the fact that I'm proud to be Tongan.
Yeah.
And I can speak better Tongan than most people. So guys, I love my culture. I speak the language, but at the same time, I'm also Tongan American too.
Yeah.
You know, I'm part of the American lifestyle. I love our culture, the American dream, the American mentality, and how we do things here. And then I just have to understand that, you know, I'm here. I'm not Tongan. I'm not American. I'm for myself, to make me feel comfortable, I'm Tongan American.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And I represent both. So for you guys, did you ever go through that self-identity crisis or of trying to figure out what's good for you because your culture, being in America, and then you just had to figure out what works for you, or especially when you guys were working towards your dreams, did you ever feel like that doing things that's outside of the cultural norm of what Tongans did that ever make you feel less okay when you started doing your own business when everybody else is working the city? And
like for me, honestly, it was like the field that I you know, being in finance.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of us that I know, you know, are in that realm. You know, at least we don't. So my whole push was to create, because in our industry, man, there's a lot of Latinos, you know, Hispanic people, you know, Asians, Blacks, Indians, you know, a lot of different cultures in it, but I didn't see a lot of polys.
Yeah.
Me, my whole push was trying to push more polys to be in that field, you know. So it wasn't the other way around with me. But on another note, is like you said, you know, like I have my, you know, the people I grew up with, my friends and stuff like that. But in order to get to a different level, I got to hang out with the people that I want to be, you know,
that's aligned with your goals and dreams. Yeah.
You know, like I'll never forget them. I'll never stop hanging out with them.
Yeah.
It just means like, hey, I'll probably see you guys once a month.
Yeah.
you know, or not so often because I got to be around people, you know, who I can excel in or level up with.
Yeah. I think for me growing up, honestly, my sister and I, we were the only two polys that never played rugby. Like all the other polys in Southside played rugby. They were on the Amazon rugby team. It was always just me and my sister that never really was a part of any of that, the clique with the Tongans, I feel, because my mom, you know, like school, don't do rugby because you guys will, you know, get hurt and blah, blah, blah. Even up to college, I think the only Tongan that wasn't on the rugby team in our school was known for rugby, our Tongan, the women's rugby team. I was the only poly on it. And I didn't really kick it with the Tongans either, but it's not because like I didn't want to, it just worked out that way. Like the classes that I had, not a lot of Tongans were in the classes that I was in. So you kind of just go with the motions of life. Like it's all about vibes too, you know, if they don't really, you know, if they're not what they, you know, pursue in life, or if you guys just don't really kick it like that, then, you know, it's not out of hate, you know, it just works out that way. And so I think that was it wasn't like trying to figure out whether or not I should be part of the crowd. That was just how my life worked out. But it was never like I excluded myself. I saw the Tongans and said, what's up? And then keep it pushing, you know? It was it was all love. Yeah.
Yeah, I think piggybacking what Pasi said, you know, as far as like, you know, your friends and like limiting your time with your friends, right? I think I forgot who said it. I forgot who said it. I was listening to somebody speak, and I think he said that, you know, you're not supposed to stay within your circle of friends. You're not supposed to stay with your same group of friends your whole entire life. As you progress, your friends progress as well.
Yeah.
And I think that you said, you know, the love is never lost just because you don't spend as much time, right? And then I think that's what the hardest thing is to do as a Tongan, because we're so tight knit. You know, we're so tight as a family, as a culture, as a community, right? And we grow up in that, and then when you decide to go into different endeavors that requires a different level of people, of thinking, of goals, you just have to explain to your friends, like, I still love you guys. I still see you guys as friends, but I gotta let me do my thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're real. Go ahead, Nane.
Sorry, but it goes back to what we're talking about. You know, like 50 years from now, we want to see Tongans, Polynesians, all in that same.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like we have to kick it with other races or cultures because we're not on the same level. So we want to eventually get to a point where we're all on the same level. And if you happen to be poly, then you're poly. Okay, let's talk about business, you know. So at this moment right now, we want to make that transition. Yeah. And I think we are.
Yeah, I think so too. And the thing is like I've tried to bring people with me, right? Yeah. I'm not a person that I'm gonna go successful by myself.
Yeah.
All right. Team with me, you know, let's work together. If I know something that you don't, I'm gonna share it. Yeah. Right. And if our goals and dreams aligns and you're poly, man, I love that.
Yeah.
But like you can't have the same mindset that you did before. Like business wise, you can't go back to where you were. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and what was I saying? My thought process just gave up on me. No. Also, no, yeah. So also another thing I was gonna say is like also to the viewers out there, one thing I always hear from Tongans or Polys is when you try to better your life or go to a different level, they always think that you're like you're feeling if you guys know what, right? And like, they think that I'm trying to be better than them or something. I always felt that, look, just because I want to do something different for my life, I don't feel like I'm better than nobody. I feel like I'm just like everybody else. I just see things differently. I have a different mindset. I have things I like and like to pursue it. I'm just I'm my own person. Yeah. But does not mean I'm better than a lot of Tongans. And that's something I always hear a lot of Tongans that always try to put us down when you want to do something different, when you go outside the zone, or say like like, you know, want to be this, I want to be all that, and you know, or you know, starting a YouTube channel or whatever, you know. And so it's always, I always have to tell people like no, it's not I'm not trying to prove to anybody I'm better than anybody.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. And I think that's a lot of Tongans need to hear, that it's okay to be different. You don't have to be like all the other Tongans. You don't have to be like all the other girls. You don't have to be like all the other guys. You know, it's cool to go your own route, and be different. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Don't let people try to make you feel less. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it may not reason with that specific Polynesian that is like talking about your female or whatever, but maybe another Polynesian be like, oh, look at that. Okay, now I can do that. So sometimes it could just be in your work that speaks for itself, you know? So that's how I see it sometimes. So you may not be attracting everyone, but at least one out of those 10 people.
Yeah.
May see, you know?
Because I see it sometimes like where there's some Tongans that grew up in a white area, Palangi area, and they're more comfortable with Palangi people.
Yeah.
And then I tell them that's fine. If you want to have all Palangi friends, you don't want to hang around with no Tongans.
Yeah.
That's cool. That doesn't make you less Tongan. That's because you don't want to hang around with other people, with Tongans, because that's your happy place with other people, with your friends. That's cool. No. You know, you don't have to. I feel like sometimes a lot of Tongans like it's all about proving that it's like trying to prove to people that you're Tongan, so that way everybody, so you're not like talked about or something.
Yep. Very true.
All right, so yeah, man. So but man, we have some great conversations.
Lot to say.
All right. Regarding anything, do you guys is there anything you guys want to specifically talk about that you feel like that we haven't covered in this podcast that you really want to express or talk about, something that's important to you that you feel like there's some people I need to hear? Any other topics?
I don't know. I think right now with what's going on in our world today, you know, because it's not in the United States, it's everywhere. It's just being very mindful of just others, you know, and not just yourself. It may not affect you. What I'm saying is like, you know, safety precautions and stuff like that. But it could affect whoever lives with you, or just be very cautious, you know. I know some Polynesians, they're sticklers of their own beliefs, but you know, what's going on right now is real. And so I think we just have to be mindful of that.
So that's
yeah. I'm speaking to my left.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into that. I mean, just because, like for me, like, yeah, I guess I have my own beliefs, just being, my wife's called it ignorant, but I should respect to her and, you know, everyone around. I cooperate. I'm not hard-headed about.
We're talking about masks.
Not wearing masks.
To be very front.
Yeah, how do you feel about that, Will?
It's about the mask.
Yeah.
For honestly, how I feel, I just want things back to normal. I want things to open up.
Yeah.
So whether we wear a mask or not, as long as we get back to opening up the economy, because there's so many people struggling right now with their jobs, with their financial situation. Not everybody has money; they can just move and go to. I see a lot of rich people moving, you know, right? But yeah, I just want to get back to where things were, where, you know, people start thriving again. Yeah. And you know, I do understand that about health and stuff, but I just want to get back to normal. And if that takes wearing masks for everybody, and we get back to normal, I'm cool. If you take no mask, whatever it is, I just want to get back to normal. So life is back to normal for people. People get back to work. People start making money. People start taking care of their family, and then life gets back to normal. That's why I see it.
Yeah.
But but as far as the mask thing, my personal opinion, there's a lot of inconsistencies and of the information they release to us about wearing a mask.
Yeah.
All right. You just, when you just listen to what they provide on media and social media, what I read up in the vaccines, it's very inconsistent. You know, it's very contradictory. They tell us to do this because we need it's not consistent.
Yeah.
And with what I see, you know, sometimes the numbers they give out as far as I released, is just like, where do they get these numbers from?
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, that's just my view. I just want to get back to things to normal and give people the opportunity to to start driving in life instead of struggle. But I see it right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're not entirely closed down here in Seattle.
Yeah.
Well, you can't dine in or anything.
Oh yeah, Cali, they're going super lockdown down here.
Super lockdown.
We have a curfew in San Bruno.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We can't be outside from 10 to 6. I think 10 to 6. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's crazy. Man, 2020 it's crazy. It's a crazy year, man.
Crazy year.
Yep. Crazy year.
Yep.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
I think the last thing I want to question to ask you, or second to last, but I just want to ask you guys about yourselves. What about, if you want to if you have to define yourself who you are today, and you want to compare it to the person you were before. So if I ask you, who's Nane, and then if you had to describe that person, I just want to let people know, that you guys, the people you are today, was an accumulation of all the things you went through as a child. So as a child, what was your personality like? What were the attributes that you had? What were the fears, the things you were scared of, and your mindset compared to the person you are today? So that way people can kind of get a perception that they look. I know some people are gonna watch this and see you guys and be inspired.
Yeah.
And they want to be like you guys. I love your story. I love your relationship with each other and the things you guys trying to do together. I think that's very powerful. And we need more of that in our community. But I also want people to understand that it wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you, who you were before. What were the positive things about you? What were the negatives? What were your strengths? What were your weaknesses? And who you are today?
Yeah.
I just want to ask you that question.
I think as a kid, I always knew myself to be very vocal. I was always I was always participating in everything. Like Pasi, where he kind of grew to not really participate in stuff. I was always that one that participated. But along the journey of life, I've grown to be very independent with my struggles. I've grown to understand that at the end of the day, regardless of who you affiliate yourself, you have yourself to fall back on. And I think now I've become more, I want to say driven and just a leader. I want to say that with confidence that I'm a leader because it took me some time because you want to be humble and you want to make sure that you're not looking at yourself like you're big-headed. But I like to take initiative a lot of things. Before I wasn't always like that. I was waiting for people to come up with a plan. I'm like, okay, let's go with that. I'm good with that. But now I like to be the one to kind of structure rather than just follow, and it's okay to follow too. But if you have an idea, it's okay to bring forth those ideas. You never know what you're bringing to the table. So
yeah. So Nane, growing up, what was your biggest fears and insecurities and maybe limited beliefs that you had about your own life that you realized that growing up that kind of limited you and you had to excel, go outside those ideas?
I think it was just like Pasi, under the umbrella of my dad. My dad kind of structured everything. So I guess it was just I was structured to be a wife,
Oh, okay, got you.
Whatever I was taught to do, to clean, do everything, it's because I was going to become a wife one day. It wasn't because I was going to be this and this and this, a lawyer or doctor or whatever. I was always taught because I was going to be someone's wife. And so I learned that I had to be more than that. I had to be more than just someone's wife. I had to make my own living, If Pasi, God forbid, left one day, left today, I had to make sure that I was able to take care of myself and our family, So I was, I'm just saying, it's hard to say out loud, but yeah, I was always conditioned to be someone's wife. I don't know if that was just, if you don't clean this, then wow, you're never gonna find a husband.
Man, yeah.
So if you don't cook, your husband's it's gonna leave you. So that was my mindset growing up. I had to learn these things to keep a man.
Yeah.
Obviously, you don't have to. I'm just kidding.
No, you're absolutely right, because I see that a lot.
Yeah.
Especially with girls, especially the girls, because I've heard those conversations before. I've heard girls talk about how they all they want to strive for, like their whole fulfillment in life is just to be a wife.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, look, if that's what you want to be, out, that brings you happiness. Hey, do you?
Yeah.
But sometimes I see a lot of girls, like, like, man, they have so much potential, like,
Yeah.
very intelligent, very talented, very gifted.
Yeah.
But they hold back, their desires or their goals in life, because in their mind that they've been conditioned to think that they only as far as they go in life is just being somebody's Molly, being somebody's wife.
Yep.
And it's sad to, and then once they get married, they get older, then then the regrets start to come in, like, oh wow, like I could have done this, and especially if the relationship doesn't work out,
yeah,
and they get left and they're all alone, and then now, like, it's hard for them to transition into being independent and take care of themselves, because they've been conditioned their whole life, like, that a man is supposed to take care of you and not take care of yourself.
The man is supposed to be the breadwinner, bring home the
and it's sad to see single moms struggle, because they've been taught to think that way, and I see that a lot with the young women. And that's I'm glad you brought that up. That's important for people to hear.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Pasi?
Some things I struggled with when I was a kid, like I said, like I mentioned before, was just not speaking up. Right? Not because like growing up, I was always the quietest person in the group, just because in my family you can speak when you're spoken to. Right? Kind of like that when we have conversations and stuff like that. But now what I've changed is like I'm very outspoken now. I can talk to people, and conversation starters, stuff like that. And then also as a kid was like my entire life really kept to myself until I found something passionate that I was passionate about. Now I can just make conversation with anybody. Before I didn't really care if I ever talk to you or ever say hi to you, build a relationship, whatever. That really didn't matter to me at all. So now it's very important for me to do that.
Yeah.
Just saying hi to someone, say, how you doing?
We'll be in the elevator. Pasi will say, hello, how you doing? And Pasi's able, and he was never able to do that.
Right.
No.
So that's something I kind of grew out of.
Yeah.
Right. I've always been a leader in my family, but when, like I mentioned, like when it came outside of that, it was always like, I don't know if I want to talk, and say what I gotta say, or this is how we should do things.
Little confidence.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. No, I see that with a lot of the Tongan guys too. I was that way. Like, I was so afraid to speak up too.
Yeah.
But good thing I think God knew what I needed to get out of it, because he put me in door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
So he forced me to speak. I remember going to like people's doors and just open the door, and I just don't say anything. Just
okay, no, okay.
And I'll just look at them and then walk away.
Oh no, nothing.
No, it's so funny. Sometimes like people call the police and like, yeah, there's this random Tongan guy just knocking people's doors and not saying anything.
I think but help with that too is like working with my dad. He used to be like, oh yeah, you go talk to the homeowners and you guys figure out numbers and stuff like that. So that kind of, I'm over here. Like, my first one was like, this look good to you? He's like, you guys are the professionals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's so great. So I think we've come to the end of the podcast. Man, you guys are great. You guys are cool. You guys are cool people. Man, you shared a lot about your story. It was very entertaining. We had some fun too. We had some fun too to talk about it. And like I said, definitely. I know you guys have your own YouTube channel and on social media. So if you guys watch this, definitely check them out. So the last thing I always ask people on the podcast to do at the end of every podcast, I always want to ask you guys to give you some words of confidence, a little speech to everybody, to leave them off as we end this podcast. I know you guys, don't want to say thank you, grateful for sharing your life. I know a lot of people, it's hard, it's hard as people in general, but us as Polynesians to talk about these things. So the fact that you're doing this, I'm very grateful that and admire your courage to do this and appreciate that. But yeah, I just want to ask you guys, to end this podcast, give some words of motivation, leave off something positive about your journey in life, things that you feel like that made you the person you are today. Because I know a lot of people, a lot of the topics we talked about, so many people that are watching today can relate.
Yeah.
And especially a lot of people and a lot of Tongans and women and men.
Right.
So yeah, I just want to ask you guys to share some last piece of advice and before we end this and end this podcast for today.
I think one of my piece of advice, because that's something I've learned along my journey, is that you are exactly where you need to be, right? Because sometimes we live life, we want to fast forward to the good stuff already, right? We want to be a millionaire, we want to be successful already, but just understand the struggles, the journey, the sleepless nights, all that, good stuff, that you're going to go through in life prepares you for the responsibility that you're going to hold when you reach your goals, right? You're going to prepare you to be a better leader, to be a better football player or nurse, doctor, whatever you want to do in life. Just understand you are exactly where you need to be.
Yep.
And just keep working. Trust God.
So.
Yep.
Yep.
I come from I'm a tough love type of person. I tell you how it is. But honestly, instead of complaining about it or moping about something, do something about it. That's always where I come from. Like if you don't like your situation, do something to fix it.
Yeah.
You got to be the reason why it changes. And so be able to reach out to people, reach out to us. If we're not able to be a resource for you, we can find someone that can be a resource. There's always someone or something out there that could help you. There's so many different platforms nowadays that you can you never know if someone will respond, but the just the idea or actually trying may take you a long way. You never know. So yeah.
For sure. Thank you. All right. And like I said, thank you again for everybody. We had some fun and appreciate your time. And I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the live now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hold up. Let me turn off the live. I'm gonna talk to you guys right after. All right. All right.